slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
What's good, YouTube? See where I'm at, back in the building, back with another video. This video is me reacting to a wrestling video brought to you by WrestleLamia. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I want to say WrestleLama, but that's probably wrong too. But anywho, there's friends that, you know, I hear all the time. People haven't watched wrestling since the Attitude Era and this, that, and the other. And there's people that still have been watching wrestling all the way up to this date. And I'm going to try to tackle both groups about why people feel like wrestling isn't the same anymore. So, without further ado, shout out to I don't want to butcher the name no more. Link will be in the description box below. Thank them for showing such great content. If you like the videos, go show them love. Go like the video. Subscribe to them. I definitely will be watching some more of their videos, so shout out to them. But I'm gonna give y'all my take on the reasons why I think the WWE in particular isn't the same anymore.
Just doesn't seem the same anymore. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. And the landscape at WWE has vastly changed over the past 5 years. Ever since the COVID-19 era, something has just felt off about the product. Granted, as a viewer, watching WWE through wiser and more mature eyes naturally changes how you view the product. Additionally, thanks to social media sites such as X, TikTok, and even Reddit, the thoughts on the product from other fans greatly shapes how you personally view pro wrestling, specifically WWE. However, WWE's entire world has changed to such an extent that the product that we see weekly is completely different to what we saw several years ago. What has happened, and why is WWE taking a seismic shift that hasn't been met with universal love and admiration? Pro wrestling's popularity's always gone up and down, and it's always hard to predict when the next boom is going to be. When WWE was struggling to sell tickets for their shows during 2017 to 2019, nobody could have ever predicted that another mini boom was on the horizon. The product was so detested by not just fans, but talent themselves, and they were at a point thanks to WWE's creative output where their top star, that being Roman Reigns, was going to ride off into the sunset. That's right, according to WWE Hall of Famer Paul Heyman, when Reigns took a step back from WWE during the COVID-19 outbreak, he considered himself retired. This was mainly down to how utterly horrendous the WWE creative had been for years. But the WWE boom started around 2022, and there was a lot of factors that went into WWE catching fire once more. Vince McMahon leaving WWE was definitely a key factor. Lapsed wrestling fans wanted to see what WWE was like without McMahon, and once they discovered that this was going to be a product that listened to the—
Whoa! Before we get to this part, let me say this. So, for the people that used to watch it during the Attitude Era, there was a lot of changes that people didn't like, that people didn't understand anymore. And, you know, a lot of the stars went off to make a better living. You had to understand that. Like, once you understand the wrestling business, some people would stay for the love of wrestling if they earning enough. But if you had the opportunity to go and do movies or do something alternative, or be in a different promotion where you can earn more belts, have that in your resume, you know, have a chance to prove yourself as a top player elsewhere, why wouldn't you do that? And a lot of the indie leagues and stuff like that wasn't seen back then like we can see them now. I will also say on the creative end, creative was kind of nerfed in a certain way, you know? So I'm gonna get to that with y'all.
The audience and embrace change, they were back in. Additionally, having Triple H steer the ship was 100% the right move. The game had been known for his creative during his time running NXT, and it wasn't just the creative aspects that the game was praised for, as he was often cited as being outstanding with talent and understanding how to get the best out of them. But this is something that McMahon hadn't been praised for since the 90s. There were also numerous major storylines and characters catching fire at the same time. The Bloodline storyline was producing cinema each and every week, and Cody Rhodes was slowly but surely cementing himself as the next John Cena. The latter was such a natural role that the first time in 20 years, WWE had an organic fit for the next face of the company. It was someone that finally WWE actively wanted in that role. But this all sounds perfect, so where's the magic actually gone? Elements of change were definitely felt when TKO acquired WWE. WWE being acquired by another company meant that for the first time ever, that they were going to have other people control what they did. Whilst TKO leaves WWE alone in certain aspects, key contracts when it comes to the rights and licensing are all down to TKO. And as we've seen over the past 3 years, TKO is focused on one thing and one thing only: money. Pro wrestling is a scripted medium. This has been common knowledge for decades, and it doesn't take away from how special and valuable pro wrestling is as an art form. In the same way that Marvel movies are obviously not occurring in real life, this doesn't hinder their enjoyment, and you can easily watch them and let yourself engage in the fictional universe for about 2 or 3 hours. But with that being said, when you're watching the latest Hollywood blockbuster, the lead actor doesn't come out on the screen halfway through and remind you that what you're watching is completely fake. When the next Avengers movie comes out, titled Avengers Doomsday, which will star Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, Downey isn't going to come out onto the screen at the end and say, "Hey, just so you know, I'm playing a character and I'm not actually full of malice." Unfortunately, WWE has become this company that is insistent on telling the audience that what they're watching is totally fabricated. In the Triple H era, post-show press conferences were launched after all the major shows. These are still to date one of the most confusing and backwards additions to the WWE programming schedule. WWE will always have talent talk about their matches and upcoming programs, but in an odd move, some will be in complete character while some will break kayfabe and act like it's an out-of-character interview outside of the WWE realm. It's utterly bizarre, and the fact that wrestlers take questions from the wrestling media is an unusual approach to say the very least. Triple H will almost certainly feature at these conferences, and it's usually Triple H's job to run down the numbers and promote how the show did a record gate and delivered record-breaking attendance. These press conferences are done to pat WWE on the back, and they have no other purpose than to remind the fans who've already watched the show and the wider media that WWE is on fire. The origin of these post-show press conferences is no doubt from pro sports, as they are common in most sports in the US and Europe. This, however, sends a mixed message. WWE wants to act like they're a real sport by doing these, but are they willing to break kayfabe during them? WWE either needs to fully embrace kayfabe or just leave it behind, as it makes no sense to blur the lines to such a confusing extent, and it's slowly turning fans away from the product as it lacks identity and, most importantly, soul. When it comes to breaking kayfabe, WWE would open their latest era, titled the Netflix era, by having Triple H introduce the show in a video package where he stated a great swath of
I feel that people that watch wrestling is going to take it for what they want to take it for. And sometimes people are a bit lazy about it, right? There are certain things that you got to come to terms about. There's certain things that you got to understand. There's a lot of things to answer. As a kid, you're thinking they're doing awesome things. Some kids know it's not real. Some kids, is so caught up into it they can't tell. But you want to be able to inspire kids, but you also don't want them to try, I would say to try to do things at home, because that could be dangerous. They shouldn't try it in school, in certain areas and stuff like that. But if they ever wanted to be a wrestler, I feel like they should be able to show more video packages of being able to go to a wrestling school or some kind of ad about, hey, when you get to a certain age and you want to be a wrestler, you can sit here and apply to this place by simply looking at this link, and it leads to all the wrestling schools under WWE, under some of the wrestlers. And I think that would not only benefit WWE and the other wrestling schools, but, you know, give them a path that they can start working on and start working with. And I think that would kind of help. But at the same time, there's people that understand the art of wrestling and understand the sports and entertainment part. The sports part, where the stories gotta be made up. The stories are fake. But these are storylines just like soap operas, just like animes that are created to capture your attention. And, you know, you gotta have a certain amount of skills to be able to take certain hits regardless. I might not be getting punched in the face directly because it will end up in swelling or soreness like you see in UFC, but them forearms, they ain't going easy on you. They got to sell those forearms, so your body's gonna be sore. You got to be in shape to take those damages. You got to take those bumps. Falling on that mat takes training. Bouncing off the ropes takes training and athleticism. Flying off the ropes takes stuff. Learning how to do bumps, which some people don't even know what it is, but taking bumps for certain things to make it more entertaining takes practice and being into the craft. And once you see them do that and realize that that's something that you might not necessarily be able to do, you might be able to appreciate them in a certain way. But the entertainment is, you know, to draw young people to buy merchandise, to be more invested, to show people they can have a good time, to entertain them, right? So I think they cover all of those different factors. Because they go to the gym, they work out, they work on their craft, they act. So that's entertainment in one way or another. You got a bunch of athletes that do acting and understanding certain scenes and stuff like that, and selling this match or segment to you, and they get better and better at it, or, you know, working on their craft. So I can understand all of those things. Now, based on the person, I hope they can eventually learn to figure it out or stick to where they at. But some people believe in being into the character while they into the stadium. Some people believe that they should relax now once they leave the main scene, right? They want to show people that they're a nice human being and not this person that is scared to come up to for safety purposes, right? So to me, I think there should be an area of divide where you can be this character, right? You could be this character where y'all can do the promos and be in the ring and act this character and all that stuff. But then once you get past a certain part of that, or past a certain area where you don't have to do promos no more and you in the locker room, I feel like you should be able to relax and just kind of like be yourself for the rest of the day and just avoid the camera. And people in the staff should know how to do that. That's my take on it. You should be able to do both. I mean, obviously, once you leave the arena and you're not shooting a promo outside of the arena for something, you should be able to be yourself, right? I mean, make it make sense.
American culture is born of that internal battle between the face and the heel. from ecstasy to humiliation, fame to obscurity, and back again. An endless cycle that changed the rules and blurred the lines, made it harder to distinguish the good guys from the bad, the shoot from the work, the real from the unreal. The WWE opening their biggest Raw show ever by telling the audience that the show is all fake was certainly a bold choice, and the game was even forced to defend this call on the post-Raw press conference, but his justification was a generic answer that really didn't delve into the why. Unfortunately, for those that believe WWE is going too far with this, it's not going away anytime soon. We have names such as The Rock shooting a major angle, then just minutes later going live on a WWE sanctioned show and reminding everyone that he's not really a bad guy and going into the inner workings of his heel persona. WWE will also release a series titled Unreal. This will see WWE show fans the inner workings of the creative team, and based on the trailers for the show, they're going to show fans how to put matches together and why certain wrestlers are picked for certain programs. Does it sound like a unique program? Well, yeah, sure, but do we really need to see this as an audience? Some things are better off left to the imagination. If WWE are going to continue down this path, we're going to get to a point where the wrestling media dirt sheets are abolished. WWE will run their own dirt sheet and they will reveal all the insider information regarding the company themselves. A presentation is one of the most important elements of a pro wrestling company. Pro wrestling needs to be presented in a certain way to be taken seriously. The wrestlers themselves should have an instant aura thanks to their theme music, the way they dress should scream superstar, and the way they walk, talk, and interact with others should have gravitas. One of the things that Vince McMahon managed to master was the presentation of wrestlers and shows. McMahon understood the importance of presentation, specifically a theme song. McMahon would always realize that the theme song is perhaps the single most important element of a wrestler's visual and audible presentation. There was never a point during McMahon's tenure that wrestlers were given a theme song just for the sake of it. The iconic Jim Johnson often produced tracks with a specific wrestler's character and persona in mind. However, in 2025, WWE used the infamous Def Rebel, and they seem to randomly assign a song based on what they already have in their back catalog. WWE's shortcomings when it comes to the theme songs are exposed at the Royal Rumble every single year. Due to the show taking place in a gigantic stadium, they rely on the theme song to deliver that initial pop. Due to half the wrestlers having bland, unoriginal theme songs, a solid 50% of them failed to muster any type of reaction at all. Case in point, Finn Balor this year, a man who was once Universal Champion of WWE, absolutely getting no reaction whatsoever. TKO recently signed a deal with Def Rebel for the UFC, so sadly, the issues with theme songs aren't going anywhere, and despite names such as Metro Boomin campaigning to work with WWE, it looks like they have zero interest in splashing out in this department. Another element of WWE's presentation that has changed for the worse is their staging. During the 2000s, it was expected that no matter what the show was, WWE would go all out with a unique stage. This would give even the worst shows a sense of identity, but now with every single show outside of Mania virtually using the same set, every show blends into one. This impacts how memorable they are as a viewer. This is naturally a cost-cutting measure, but every single cost-cutting measure seems to impact the overall presentation of the show, and WWE and TKO are seemingly never putting any money back into things that should matter. WWE's event calendar in the first half of 2025 has been an utter disaster. In a unique move, WWE would have the Royal Rumble take place on February 1st, and this was done to accommodate a Saturday night's main event that would take place just 7 days prior. This way of formatting the shows meant that WWE had an extended build to WrestleMania, and this hindered the build as WWE acted like they were building towards a Fastlane show for the first 5 weeks. Coming out of WrestleMania, WWE would go absolutely crazy with their events, as it would have a show virtually every 2 weeks, thanks to them having the majority of their contracted Saturday night's main event shows in the first half of the year. This has been totally exhausting as a fan, as nothing has been given an opportunity to breathe. And the crazy thing is, following the Saturday night's main event and Evolution double bill next weekend, they won't have another Saturday night's main event special until December. WWE have to avoid this format in subsequent years, as the sheer amount of programming has without a doubt put fans off. The WWE...
Alright, hold up. Look, let's wrap this up. Let me explain something to y'all. So from both sides of things, I can understand it as a fan, and I can understand it from a business perspective. You want to be able to earn more money. You definitely want, especially when you into business, whether it's yours or not, or you understand it, you definitely want sustainability, right? And you want to be able to utilize money to the best way you know how. I do believe that the stages for each pay-per-view made it very unique, a very specialized experience where it would make people want to pay for the ticket more because of the presentation, what it meant, and how it could possibly look, and it was dope. Now, I do feel I can understand where they want to save money, make more profit, or to utilize that money for other things, which I hope they use to reinforce towards, you know, the fans, the superstars, the people, and stuff like that, and then still be able to pocket a little bit of something. It's a corporation app, of course, but I feel like they need to find a way to still be able to make every pay-per-view very unique in its own way, yet be cost effective. I think that's possible. They just haven't necessarily figured it out yet, but I hope they do. I hope they start caring about things like that again. Sometimes I feel like if you're gonna have a bunch of wrestlers, you gotta be able to have a creative that can create plans for everybody, all the wrestlers that you got. I do think they oversaturate just for the sake of stars that are champions to pop up at every single city and be able to sign pictures and all of that stuff and get merchandise up. I think champions can still do it, but they don't necessarily have to be at the show, you know? Like they don't have to necessarily be actively wrestling at every single show. They could be there and, you know, take the kids through the experience and all that stuff, but give other superstars to develop a storyline, to develop who's a contender, who's not a contender, this, that, and the other. Stuff like that. I think you could preserve and give chance for everybody to have a chance to study. But when you're so money hungry and trying to make the milk the most out of every single show, you know, it's going to displease your workers. It's going to displease the people that appreciate the build up, where in the Attitude Era, they gave people a chance to show whether they were a champion or not, why so many wrestlers could possibly be champions and entertaining in their own way, even when they wasn't in the championship picture. Thus, made a lot of champions be available where you could see a bunch of people could possibly be champion at one time, and you couldn't predict who could possibly be the champion at that moment. And that spontaneous reaction and possibilities, because I can't pronounce the word that I'm trying to say, was keeping things fresh, keeping people on their toes, right? I think people are going off nostalgic. There is an art form and things that they're going into. I will sit here and say this. There are people that want to understand things behind the scenes and want to watch that content. If they create a content about what it looked like backstage, they could give you a warning sign so you could choose to not look at it. Other than that, if you want to ruin that for yourself, that's on you. As a wrestler, as a person that's curious, like, they could give you a description of what it is to let you know, hey, this is not part of the storyline, so if you don't want this to be ruined for you, don't watch this. But if you don't care about it, you'll watch it. You know, allow y'all to make decisions for yourselves. It seems so lazy to complain about, oh, they're gonna show this or they're taking away that, when you can just choose not to watch it. I mean, they're trying to appease every single body, And they divvy it up to balance everything out, and you still complaining, you just sound ungrateful. But the WWE, I think Vince McMahon definitely had the keys to make wrestling what is wrestling, keep certain things sacred, the presentation, the effectiveness of each character, this, that, and the other. However, it felt like the possibility to push other superstars and do other amazing things and really get into creative and storylines were also nerfed in a certain way and was a bit outdated to a certain degree. And I feel like the combination of some of the things Vince McMahon doing combined with Triple H would have been like the best of both worlds if they found a way to mesh it together to make it work. And that was a beautiful thing. But now that TKO took over the company, they kind of took away the essence, the beauty, the art of WWE to a degree where I can still enjoy it as a wrestler, but when you're so focused on money that I can see it everywhere, and I can see that you don't care as this company about wrestling and the culture of wrestling, it's going to make people feel some type of way. And even if people don't know about all of these things, they can sense when something is off and it doesn't feel the same no more. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Until then, until next time, RKO Noah. Had to check. Had to see if you're ready. I got my moveset. I got my list of theme songs. And I even have an original theme song. And I have theme songs for certain events or certain pay-per-views or times of years. But yeah. Y'all, hey, let me know about that down below. If y'all have a theme song, if you was a wrestler, or, you know, this, that, and the other. Till next time, till next video. Peace.